Not your typical non-conference game this afternoon in Littlejohn Coliseum. The Boise State Broncos out of the Mountain West Conference. Back-to-back NCAA tourney trips with aspirations to get there again and to take on a Clemson team looking to get to 4-0 on the season. P.J. Hall and company think they can get to the big dance this year as well.
P.J. Hall is off to a great start. 21 points per game. The Asheville Championship MVP. Terrific start.
Fabulous player on the other side, a junior for the Broncos, Tyson Dagenhart. He can score down low and outside.
The first team Mountain West forward for Boise State can score from anywhere on the court, can make threes, score at the rim. He's a really hard matchup today for the Tigers.
So nearly 25 miles in their travels, Boise State has arrived in Littlejohn Coliseum. First meeting ever between these schools, although Clemson teams have played games in Boise before. The basketball team in the NCAA tourney in the late 80s, the football team in the bowl game there back at the end of the 2001 season. Hall and the Tigers looking to continue what's been a good start. Faced two contrasting styles in UAB and Davidson last weekend and winning the tournament in Asheville. First game for both teams since last Sunday, and off the opening tip, it'll head toward Boise State.
So Jack Clark, excuse me, will get the start today for the Tigers in place of Chauncey Wiggins. A little bit more size at the 3 spot.
Only D1 opponent so far for the Broncos, San Francisco, team they knocked off last Sunday at home 63-58. Did a nice job defensively against a high-scoring Dons team. Backdoor pass. Max Rice, 6-year player from right there in Boise because his dad is the head coach. Talk more about that in a bit. On the intended pass down low, but it was wide of Roddy Anderson. Hall joined in the lineup by the aforementioned Jack Clark, as well as Joe Girard, Ian Shefflin, and Chase Hunter. Tiger team coming into this ball game averaging 74 points a contest, giving up about 67. Shefflin from the outside. First points of the game for the junior from just outside of Atlanta.
So much of the Tiger offense has been their bigs being able to stretch it out, shoot it from 3. Clemson's making over 10 threes a game. Boise State is one of the best 3-point field goal defensive teams in the country.
Roddy Anderson, and a second turnover that he's involved in here in the early going. Big shoes to fill at point guard for Boise State, and he picks up the first personal foul on either side.
And we saw Boise State go to a backdoor action in the first possession, try to take advantage of Clemson's aggressiveness, but taking care of the basketball is a big part, as we talked to Coach Rice before the game.
Tigers haven't played all that many Mountain West Conference teams over the years. Girard kicks it to Hunter. Chase Hunter feeling it from the outside. It'll go as a long 2. The Tigers senior from Atlanta, second on the team at 11 points a contest.
I've been very impressed about Joe Girard's assists. 3.5 assists per game so far this year. He's done a great job moving the basketball.
Rice, one of their good outside shooters. Cam Martin, one of 3 transfers who will be vital to this team, giving it away to Rice. Try to get it back to Martin. Out of bounds it goes. 3 possessions, 3 turnovers for a Broncos club that comes in averaging 13 over the first 2 games.
And it's been a little bit of an issue for the Broncos. We're going to see Jace Whitting getting here quickly. See if they can calm the Broncos down a little bit.
Clark looking low. Hall defended by Martin. 6'9" on 6'10". And P.J. Hall couldn't get the right roll. Boise State a year ago with that second straight NCAA tourney trip. 51 wins in the past 2 seasons for the team based in Idaho's state capital. First bucket of the game. Cam Martin, 7.5, playing his 3rd game for Boise State. Hunter emphatically welcomes the Broncos south.
Chase Hunter does a great job of pushing the basketball for the Tigers. That was off of a made basket, drove it all the way to the rim and got that dunk.
Whiting, backup point guard into the game. Rice spins and forces. Good defense by Girard. Boy, Chase Hunter, not only the strong move, but the elevation.
And the Tigers want to attack the rim today. Boise State does a great job staying home with shooters on the perimeter to take away threes. Tigers want to play at the rim.
Hunter had the size advantage. Martin able to save it. Whiting from a basketball family out of Burley, Idaho. Martin played at Kansas among his college stops. Abo. Chibuzo Abo began his career at Texas Tech, second year in their program. A guy who's really picked his game up scoring-wise. They did a summer trip to Canada, and he blossomed while they were on their journey. No for Girard. Battle inside. Going to get an over-the-back foul against Boise State.
And Abo is off to a great start this season. Watching him on film, he's got a great physical body. He can make threes. He's outstanding at the rim. His two-point field goal percentage is excellent. But he's a high-level defender. His size and his strength, he can guard anybody on the floor 1 through 5.
Four-star recruit out of San Diego, a guy they were in on when he was in high school. Elected to go to the Big 12 with Texas Tech, but here he is now. A guy whose role will increase this season with Boise State. Dylan Hunter into the game for Clemson. Girard. Now Hunter from the wing. He might follow the pathway of his older brother Chase, who slowly but surely in his Clemson career in years 2 and 3 got more of a role in his second season. That's a nice looking shot we didn't see last year.
He sparked the Tigers in the second half against Davidson. He made the first 3 of the second half and really kind of got them going to get back in the game.
Abo on the left wing. Tyson Dagenhart, guy we talked about in our open. 2 years ago, 44% beyond the arc. Last year, had to play on the low block. They needed his 6'8" size down low.
He's a very difficult matchup for Shefflin when he stretches the floor that far.
Shefflin couldn't get it to go. Tigers ran out to a 5-0 advantage. Broncos a chance to tie or take the lead before the under-16 timeout.
Yeah, the Broncos have settled down after those first 3 turnovers.
Foul inside, going to go against Clark. And that'll be the first on the Tiger team. Got a break in the action early on in Littlejohn Coliseum. A team from the west, a team from the southeast. A 2-point game. Two-point game early on. Clemson against Boise State out of the Mountain West Conference. Welcome back into Littlejohn Coliseum with J.D. Powell. Pete Hannity, well, give me the 10,000-foot view of these first 4 minutes or so that you've seen on each end.
So the Tigers want to play at the rim. You saw Chase Hunter off of a made field goal, drive the basketball, get to the rim and finish. And then Boise State, when they don't turn the basketball over, they're outstanding offensively. Turned it over the first 3 possessions, have settled down now, and they're doing very well.
Interesting that both these teams' last game was last Sunday, and maybe a little bit of game rust, but obviously a lot of intensity in the practices. And keep in mind, visiting team coming from as far away as any opponent ever has to play a regular season game against the Tigers here in Littlejohn.
It's a really neat 10 days for Boise State. You and I visited with Coach Rice before the game. They came out here Thursday. They will leave and go here and play in the Orlando Invitational, the ESPN event. They'll play Virginia Tech, so another ACC team. But these are great times in the preseason as a team. You know, you get 10 days together. You're going to go to an outstanding event in Orlando. It's a really special time for those guys.
And again, I think you'd agree, anyone sitting in this arena watching the first few minutes of this game, if you know something about Boise State, some ACC caliber talent all across their roster. And in a league that had a team play for a national title a year ago, San Diego State, Broncos picked just behind them in the preseason Mountain West poll. Anderson, one of their newcomers, came to them from UC San Diego. Huge shoes he has to fill, we noted earlier. Marcus Shaver Jr., really good point guard for them, who graduated after last year's NCAA run. Inside, Dagenhart no, and Shefflin pulls it down. Here come the Tigers.
A big part of the game within the game is going to be which team can get the ball inside and draw some fouls against a big. We've seen the ball go inside a couple times. No fouls so far.
Hemingway took it right at Dagenhart. It'll stay in the Clemson end. How much do you think it's helped the Tigers? Game against Winthrop, they took control early on to open up, but UAB and Davidson from each end of the spectrum in terms of styles. How much does that help a team, JD, early in the season when you're seeing a diversity of styles of play?
I think it's huge, especially in the preseason like this. You're having to prepare for so many different things. Davidson is a very tough cover, and Davidson and UAB could not be more different. And so a one-day prep to guard Davidson is really challenging. So down the road, it will really pay off for the Tigers.
Hemingway stepped out of bounds. First turnover of the game for Clemson. Hall defending out high. It's another one of their newcomers, Omar Stanley, a St. John's transfer. Abo from the right corner this time. And the first lead for Boise State. A couple of long-range bombs for a guy who came in hitting just 20%. But mind you, they played a lower division school, Vanguard, which sounds more like an insurance or a security company to open up, and then they played USF. Knocked away, good defense inside. Anderson gets it back from Rice. Here come the Broncos. Anderson tried to scoop. Not happening against R.J. Godfrey. His 5th block so far.
Leon Rice's teams have always been outstanding shooting teams. They haven't shot it great so far for the first 2 games this season. R.J. Godfrey has done a great job early in the season for the Tigers as a rim protector. Great job blocking that shot without fouling.
Boise State in a league that's pretty physical, and there is a lot of talent in the Mountain West, as you've come to know. They had multiple NCAA tourney teams last year, so I don't think they ever want to have the term mid-major associated with them.
No, I was fortunate to be involved in a few games at some Mountain West schools, New Mexico in particular. One of the great home court atmospheres that I've ever been a part of.
Unable to clean up inside, R.J. Keene, 6'7" senior out of the Woodlands, Texas, been with their program for a number of years. And they're going to get Stanley for the reach-in foul on Hall.
2 very similar offensive styles from Boise State and Clemson. Both teams are going to spread the floor. They're going to bring a big to the top of the key, want to create some angles for driving, for back cuts, but also to drive the basketball from the top. There we see P.J. Hall drive it to his left and draw a foul.
3 team fouls on the Broncos. Boise State has played on an ACC floor before at NC State a few years back. Hall gets that one to go down. And the Tigers' top scorer, his first bucket of the game.
Outstanding job catching it. PJ gets to his left shoulder, able to knock down the jump hook.
Nice reverse inside in traffic. Omar Stanley, 12.5 points per game over his first couple. Brings some scoring in, and a good shooter from the outside as well.
And a great job by Roddy Anderson to get in the paint right there, dump it down to Stanley for an easy layup.
Hemingway to Wiggins. Tigers feeling it from long range. 3 for 4 on 3-pointers.
Much needed for Chauncey Wiggins. He's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start this year. Came off the bench today, but he able to get in there and get an early 3 for Coach Brownell.
Didn't score against Davidson, so that's got to feel good. Had to go a week with that thought in his mind. Stanley tried to get it down low. First turnover in a while by the Broncos. It's their 4th.
Alex Hemingway driving the basketball, finding Chauncey Wiggins on the perimeter. As we said, you know, much needed from Chauncey Wiggins to be able to get that confidence going again. Big 3 right there.
Hemingway and the Tigers looking to build the lead back up, but Stanley knocks it away in a strong move around Wiggins. Chauncey Wiggins committing his first personal foul. Be the 2nd on the Clemson team. So Omar Stanley, originally from just outside of Kansas City, was at St. John's. In case you're not familiar with college hoops, it was a bit of a house cleaning when Rick Pitino got to the Flushing Queens campus, and he's one of those who moved on. And they love having him out at Boise.
He gives them athleticism at the rim. He can really score the basketball. He played very well on the Canadian trip that they took this summer, averaged 15 points per game. But he gives them a little bit of a counter punch to Cam Martin with his athleticism and his rim finishing ability. He's a very good shot blocker. Very nice player for the Broncos.
7 of 8 on free throws coming in to just his 2nd miss wearing a Boise State uniform. Hits 1 out of 2.
The Broncos like
so far for him.
Yeah, the Broncos love to go to a 1-2-2 after most free throws. They do it right there. Just try to change it up a little bit and show the Tigers something different.
I think we heard Brad Brownell pregame talk about how they may see some 1-3-1. Boss Leida just on the floor, gave it to Hunter, who gives to Wiggins. Nice work off the bench for Chauncey Wiggins, the Tigers sophomore out of Grayson, Georgia.
Very good post feed by Chase Hunter. Was able to get Chauncey on his on that angle, turn to his left shoulder and knock it down.
24 wins a year ago. A loss to Northwestern in which they had some injury issues, some foul troubles in that NCAA tourney game. That was one of those ball games in their brackets. A lot of folks probably had Boise State on the next line coming out of that game. You can call an upset. Big Ten team knocking off one of the favorites in the Mountain West.
And the Broncos have won 20 games in 8 of the last 10 seasons. An amazing stat for Coach Rice.
Hunter hit the dunk earlier, couldn't get the runner to fall. Martin, 6'9", light of defense. Anderson, shot clock at 15. Martin looking baseline. Strong move with the lefty hook over Lyda. No, but the rebound pulled down by Keene, and there's Gerard.
Boise State has done a great job early in the season on the glass. Plus 18 so far. The Tigers are a minus 2.5. That's a big key to the game today.
Godfrey can't find success. Rice, one of 2 sons of the head coach on the team. Now Stanley backing in, and Lyda will pick up the personal. Be a 3rd team foul on the Tigers. First on Boz Lyda, the UNCG transfer. How about Chauncey Wiggins so far?
Chauncey Wiggins off to a great start right here. Knocks down the open 3. Tigers are up by 3 going into the break.
Tigers up by 3 early on against Boise State here in Littlejohn Coliseum. Well, they've got them eyes on some big prizes this year. They already have a trophy in hand. Wins against UAB and Davidson, nail biters each. Last weekend in Asheville for the Asheville Championship at the U.S. Cellular Center.
Came from behind in both games. Came from behind from 18 against Davidson, the 5th largest comeback in Clemson basketball history. But a great start to the season for the Tigers. Those are the types of games sometimes as a coaching staff, it's almost more of a relief than an excitement. But obviously a huge thrill for the Tigers. And as you said, 7 days off in between games.
Stanley now 2 of 4 from the line. Degenhardt back after a brief rest. Goes with that face mask. Team with much more depth, just like Clemson. Boise State this year. Shefflin and Hall usually finishes that shot. Boy, PJ would like to have that one back. Chance to once again tie or retake the lead for the Broncos. That's the guy they want to have the ball in the hands of. Offensive foul on Degenhardt. And that'll be the first on the 6'8" junior out of Spokane, Washington.
Out of the timeout, Coach Rice goes to a pick and pop. Degenhardt drives it downhill. Joe Girard puts his feet in front. I've been impressed by Joe Girard's defense so far this year. The coaching staff in the summer talked a lot about coming from the zone at Syracuse, the adjustments to playing man-to-man. He's worked hard defensively in there. That's a big charge against a very large young man.
All we heard about was 16 points a game. Returning leading scorer in the ACC, can shoot. And obviously all that on his resume, but he takes pride in the D as well. Also trying to attack the basket, and he does. Working inside on the 6'5" Max Rice.
Outstanding drive right there. The Tigers continue to get the rim, test the Broncos' shot blocking ability.
Tigers open up the game with a 5-0 run. Rice. Martin leads them in rebounds. Scored about 8 points in his first 2 games apiece. That time Hall with a nice defense. PJ came in, leading the team with 6 blocks. Josh Beadle on the floor. Hunter. Another burst of speed to the basket. Finger roll goes, and he'll head to the line.
You see the Tigers continue to attack the rim. Chase Hunter comes downhill off that handoff from Josh Beadle. And Josh Beadle gave the Tigers a huge lift on Sunday off the bench against Davidson. Great job right there by P.J. Hall defending Cam Martin in the post. Plays without fouling. And then, as we mentioned, the Tigers want to play at the basket right there. Chase Hunter gets downhill, able to get the rim finish, now go to the line for 1.
88% on limited attempts, of course, over his first 3 games. 7 points last Sunday against Davidson. 16 in that big win against UAB. And he was clutched down the stretch.
The 2 free throws with just over 4 seconds to go against UAB to put the Tigers back ahead and eventually win the basketball game.
Tigers, just like that, build the lead out to 7. Chase Hunter with 7 points to lead the way.
And you see the Tiger bigs stepping out, trying to extend some of these catches from the Broncos. trying to push their offense out just a little bit.
Rice drives on Gerard, can't hit the pull-up. Clemson looking to build on its largest lead so far. In transition, Beadle, Stanley defends, Beadle reverses.
And you see the Tigers with a three-guard lineup right now. Gerard, Josh Beadle, Chase Hunter, great pitch ahead. Josh Beadle attacking the rim, getting a layup for the Tigers. Right here, driving it to his left, takes it to the other side of the rim against the shot blocker, lays it in.
Josh Beadle showing you the kind of moves that made him a three-star coming out of Cardinal Newman in Columbia. Tiger sophomore guard.
Redshirt sophomore from Columbia, outstanding player, probably the Tigers' most athletic perimeter player. Great job attacking the rim right there to his left hand.
Another player whose scoring role could increase this season. Martin thought otherwise about a three, tries for two on Hall, and you know the scouting report says if you're going to go at PJ Hall, that's the way to do it with a pump fake.
The Broncos do an outstanding job of using shot fakes at the rim. Martin, Dagenhart, even Rice, they'll go down there. They use their body very well, get PJ Hall off his feet right there out of the timeout and draw the foul.
First on Hall. Tigers with 4 opening half fouls. 5 so far for Boise State. So Hall will get a rest until the under 8.
And that's been a point of emphasis by the Clemson coaching staff. They want PJ to stay on his feet.
Rice, and he'll go to the line.
Studying the Broncos early in the season, I was very impressed, not just with Max Rice's shooting ability, but his craftiness at the rim. You know, he'll get down there, he'll give you some shot fakes, step through, just as he did right there. He's going to get to the free throw line. Outstanding score for the Broncos.
6-year guard. His dad is over his left shoulder, the head coach of this team. We'll talk to you more about Leon Rice in a moment. Middle of 3 brothers, all have played college basketball. Older brother Brock, who's now involved with the Boise State athletic program, was at a lower division school, and then younger brother Cade, a freshman on the team. Max has had a nice career. Second team All Mountain West a season ago, and he brings the Broncos back within 7.
Coach Rice talked about how proud he was of how his son blends in and how hard he works. Outstanding player. The second team Mountain West Conference guard in the preseason is going to have an outstanding year.
Beadle, nice move over Whiting, but couldn't get it to go. Whiting, a sophomore, did a Mormon mission to Finland after his high school career. It's a little bit older than your typical sophomore. That's going to go down from the outside for Abo. And a chance to make it even bigger than it is already.
Outstanding driving kick right here. Abo knocks down his 3rd three. Fouling has been a bit of an issue for Clemson so far in the early season. Since that timeout, Tigers have fouled in 3 straight possessions now.
Averaged 11.5 a season ago in his first year with Boise after transferring from Texas Tech. Opportunity to become the first player on the court in double figures.
And with all the preseason accolades for the Bronco players, Abo quietly leads the Broncos in scoring right now. He's got 10 so far today, 3 made threes. Outstanding player, very difficult matchup.
Well, you got to think Brad Brownell and the staff said number 2 on Boise State as the steal by Max Rice, and a good one ahead to Abo. Hunter back to defend. Traveling is the call. 6 turnover for the Broncos. We figure the Tigers scout was all about stopping number 2 Dagenhart and then figuring out the rest from there.
Absolutely. Abo, though, has been so impressive in the way they play together. Max Rice talked about it after the San Francisco game, how good of a passer Dagenhart is, and that makes everyone else on the roster a better scorer.
Shefflin, and Hunter couldn't find the handle. Tigers led by 9 moments ago, trying to build on this 3-point lead. Gerard off the pump fake. Inside, Godfrey, and right back up with it.
R.J. Godfrey, 12 points against Winthrop, was outstanding in Asheville against Davidson, gave the Tigers a huge lift off the bench.
Tigers actually coming into the game negative in rebounds, about 3 rebounds fewer than the opposition, but R.J. Godfrey doesn't realize that.
The sophomore from Georgia getting it done on the glass, a huge offensive rebound, puts it back in. Tigers are up.
Few do it better than Leon Rice, Boise State's head coach for nearly a decade and a half, a former Mark Few assistant at Gonzaga. JD, this guy has come in and made Boise a basketball school. They're in their golden era of hoops, it's safe to say.
It's amazing when you start studying the Broncos, being on the East Coast like we are, you don't know. They have 8 20-win seasons in the last 10 years, which is more than UCLA, Arizona. It's really remarkable, and he's done an outstanding job. We played him when I was at the College of Charleston in an exempt event. Really, really solid program.
Playing in a conference that's quietly become some kind of basketball league. The Mountain West, and a 4-point play. Chibuzo Abo. Actually, they said it was a 2 that he made in the wing. I think they checked. I think they actually checked and revised that during the timeout. Couldn't get it to go. And up and in on the putback, though, by Omar Stanley. 26-24 game. I think they're saying the foul happened after the shot.
Wow.
Before the timeout. So that was crazy.
And now the Broncos are in the bonus with over 7 minutes to play in the first half.
Tigers led by 9 just moments ago. Clark on the perimeter with Girard, but that's not necessarily the game plan. Girard tries to go underneath Rice, and he does.
Very impressive, Joe Girard. We've seen him now twice use that shot fake, get into the paint and score.
Jace Whiting. Mom is the head coach at her alma mater, BYU. His sister is a star player there as well. So talk about from a basketball family. Dad was a really good player, played professionally over in Italy. So
very impressive Boise State roster when you talk about the basketball background of so many of these players.
Degenhardt has a Clemson background we'll detail for you as we go on today. Here's Stanley from the right wing. And look at Godfrey flying in. Pulls down another rebound, and I believe that's number 2 on the guy who's number 2 in your scorecard. Their star player, Degenhardt.
That's a very big foul. R.J. Godfrey comes flying in, grabs the rebound. High-level basketball game like today, those are the calls that, as head coaches, we could live with without that one. Just let them play on. It's not going to change the game in terms of if you don't call that foul, but that's a big foul on the first team All Mountain West Conference forward.
Bert Smith, Jeffrey Clark, Brian Schnurr, our officiating crew today. So he heads to the bench, 6.5 to go. Probably won't see him to the second half. Martin on his place, defending the ball with Stanley. Girard, pump fake on Rice. Now the pull-up. Boy, that would have been spectacular had Clark gotten that one to fall.
And we see the Broncos bring a double on P.J. Hall for the first time today.
Martin, 6'9", likes to shoot. Now 2 of 4 in his brief time with the Broncos team from long range.
Highly decorated forward, 3-time All-American as a D2 player, has had an outstanding career.
And Dylan Hunter poked in the eye, and the foul is called. Cam Martin, year 7 in college basketball.
One of the most decorated players probably in the country this year when you consider 7th year of college basketball. 3-time All-American as a Division II player, won a national championship at Kansas, and was a 3-time academic All-American during his time as a D2 player. Outstanding career for Cam Martin.
Rice just picked up his first foul just outside of Oklahoma City. Cam Martin, UConn, Oklahoma is his hometown. Had his D1 career high in their first game this year when he had 12 against Vanguard.
And played at Missouri Southern State, one of the best Division II programs in the country. So many of the Division IIs in the Midwest, outstanding basketball. And so you see Cam go from there to Kansas to Boise State after starting his career at Jacksonville State, but an outstanding player.
Dylan Hunter just knocked down his first free throw attempt of the season for the Clemson team.
And I thought Dylan really impacted the game Sunday for the Tigers against Davidson. He started the second half. The Tigers went 3 guards, hit a big 3 early in the half. It was the first 3 he had made of the year. Brought a spark for the Tigers. You're starting to see that confidence. You compared him to his brother Chase and how he's settling in. We're seeing a jump from the young sophomore from Atlanta.
The younger brother now with 5 points. And the Clemson lead back out to 3. Tigers have led by as many as 9 in this opening half. First ever meeting between Boise State and the Clemson Tigers in men's hoops. Ace Whiting, the sophomore, and again, older than your average sophomore after doing a mission trip right after high school. A lot of experience, really, on both sides. Abo trying to spin on Godfrey. Couldn't get the fadeaway. Nice defense by the Tigers sophomore forward. And we'll get a double dribble called. I don't know the last time I've seen a double dribble called in a college game.
And so we've seen two calls. One was the travel after the pitch ahead and transition, which Coach Rice did not like. And now that transition double dribble. Interesting early in the year. This is a blended crew, part ACC, part Mountain West, but obviously a very high-level game, very high-level officiating crew.
Tigers averaging 10 turnovers a game, have 6 so far to match Boise State. Martin with Degenhardt on the bench trying to take on the scoring duties, and Hunter the last to touch it. Just 2 seconds on the shot clock. Let's see what they do here. Whiting in, Rice, and a shot clock violation. First we've had in the game.
The 7th turnover for the Broncos right now early in the game. That's been a little bit of an issue so far. Coach Rice talked about it. You know, obviously not young guards, experienced guards, Roddy Anderson, but the loss of Marcus Shaver from this past season, who had 111 assists to 64 turnovers, an outstanding guard for the Broncos. They're figuring it out a little bit on the perimeter right now, taking care of the basketball.
Wiggins defended by the freshman Andrew Meadow, and he goes right over top of the Californian, stands at 6'7". Gives you a, and you'll see it closer on some close shots, it gives you a look of some famous characters both inside of basketball and of film lore over the years.
Absolutely. The staff said they even joked about it during recruiting, and that it's been a point of conversation.
That's what we'll move this back to us. We'll talk more about it when we get a close-up of Meadow and the reach-in foul on Rice, and that'll be his second after he turned it over. Each team has put the other in the bonus. Boy, this is one that if you're Rice to get number 2 that way, you're just kicking yourself.
Yeah, both of those fouls, Degenhardt, Rice, those are tough ones. But we're seeing a lot of the game within the game. So these two head coaches know each other well. They've worked on the Nike circuit together as they've traveled some. But we're starting to see some changes out of timeouts. Boise has started to double P.J. Hall out of the last media timeout in the post. Now the Tigers come with a double that forces a turnover, kind of that coaching matchup within the game.
Alex Hemingway on the free throw line. Tigers so far perfect on 3 attempts. Hemingway, just like the guy who was just there, Dylan Hunter. First free throw here in the 4th game of the season. Knocks it down to shoot the bonus. So we mentioned the freshman, Andrew Meadow. I mean, I'm sorry, you look right at him, you're thinking Hanson brothers, right off the bat. I mean, you're missing the story, and then a little bit of Kurt Rambis in there, too, and he's a guy from Santa Clarita, California, so.
I love the goggles.
Hanson brothers from the movie Slapshot, if that's a dated reference lost on some younger viewers.
I wish I had that hair.
And a 3-star recruit they think is really going to help them and going to grow his game. His AAU team, he played on Bronny James' AAU team, so he's been around some high-level hoops in his day.
And he averaged over 13 points per game for the Broncos on their Canadian tour this summer. So will be a very good player for Coach Rice and the staff for years to come.
Tigers back out to a 7-point lead. Boise State had shaved a 9-point deficit down to 2. Abo, and he'll go to the line. And P.J. Hall picks up his second.
And that's going to be the second foul on P.J. As you were saying, that's a big call right there.
Here in Littlejohn, Tigers have a 7-point lead. Big storyline in this game. Boise State, top player, one of the best in the Mountain West. Tyson Degenhardt over on the bench with 3 personal fouls. There's his dad, Yukon Degenhardt, a unique first name. And a very special connection to Clemson. He was a student here, competed on the track team as a distant runner at Clemson from 1991 to 93. He was from Spokane, Washington, but Bob Pollock, the track and field coach, the elder Degenhardt tells us, recruited him, came here for a couple of years, and he moved back out west and finished up his college career at Eastern Washington. Son Tyson grew up in the Spokane area, where his mom and dad are teachers, and he was recruited away from schools like Gonzaga to come to Boise State. But how do you like that? You schedule a game with Boise, and well, you know that their star player's dad actually attended school, so it's been a really special weekend for UConn Degenhardt. The elder came back, got to see old friends. They went to the football game yesterday, so the first time he'd seen a game in Death Valley since, what, the Ken Hatfield era. Yeah. And a lot of his friends from Clemson come to games regularly, so they got to meet up. And really a neat side story to this ball game. The star Boise State's dad attended the school his son's going against, but the son not being able to play in this game for the final 6.5 minutes of the first half because of foul trouble. Big story. Tigers up by 5, looking to add to that. Hunter hung up, and it's knocked away. Good job by Martin to Abo. Abo already his 8th double-figure scoring game since he arrived at Boise State from Texas Tech last year. Martin, the throwdown, and one. Godfrey picks up the foul.
R.J. Godfrey got a little too close right there to Cam Martin, started to lean on that left shoulder. The scout was, don't let him get to his left. He turns the other way, finishes at the rim. An outstanding play by Cam Martin. Terrific finish, going back to the free throw line again.
Cam Martin, just by the early returns, looks like he has found a very good home to close out his long college basketball career. And he knocks down the free throw. He was just 2 of 5 coming into the game, but of course it's early. And again, Boise State back within 2 after trailing by as many as 9 during the opening half. Wiggins and Godfrey out high. Hunter gets it back behind a screen from Shefflin.
Outstanding shot by Chase Hunter. He got off to such a good start shooting the ball from 3 last season. A little bit slower so far this year, but it started to heat up since the Davidson game.
Knocks down his first 3 attempt, 33% on the year. Anderson drives past Shefflin. Nice move. Roddy Anderson, the UC San Diego transfer at 6'3", went right past and then finished against a 6'8" Shefflin.
Anderson, the quick guard, the transfer from San Diego, as you said, led all freshmen in that league at 15.8 points per game last season.
Wiggins thought about it, goes around Abo. And Godfrey there to finish.
R.J. Godfrey does a great job for the Tigers. His energy level, his activity around the rim, one of Coach Brownell's favorites because of his activity.
You know, you got bigs in Hall and Shefflin who can kind of low block you. Then you've got guys who can play at the rim like Wiggins and Godfrey. And some real versatility with being able to attack. And then you add in the guards like Hunter, who's already thrown one down.
I think they complement each other very well.
Martin, and they'll get him for the travel. And that'll be a 9th turnover on Boise State here in the opening half of play. 13 per game over their first 2.
Outstanding drive right here. Chauncey Wiggins gets downhill, would like to be able to finish that. But again, R.J. Godfrey coming in, tipping it in, led the team last year in field goal percentage. Outstanding sophomore from Georgia.
Chase Hunter, experienced Tigers senior. Hemingway. Anderson flying in for the rebound. On their way to 24 wins and another NCAA trip last year, Boise State knocked off the likes of Washington State, Colorado, and Texas A&M, and trying to get a win on an ACC floor.
They're 6-1 since 2022-2023 against P5 schools. The Broncos will play anyone, anywhere.
Tell you one thing, Abo, guy who came to them from Texas Tech, playing any league. That's a good-looking jump shot off the dribble.
When you
Builds
watch
on
him,
his points total, he's got 13 to lead all scorers.
and when you watch him, he reminds you of what in the NBA what they would call a 3-and-D type guy. Can make an open 3, obviously can play at the rim, but an outstanding defender.
Got a hand on it from behind and was lobbying his case, but it'll stay in the Clemson end with 12 on the shot clock. Tough guy to defend because he can square up, he can attack, but also can shoot off the dribble. Strong move by Shefflin, just ran into trouble.
He did. To finish the point on Abo, Coach Brownell talked about it in his pregame. It's a very difficult matchup for the Tigers because he can play some 4, he can slide up as a 3. The Tigers have had success with a 3-guard lineup since the Davidson game, so the matchup becomes very important. And Degenhart, 3 fouls. Abo has picked up the load. It's kept the Broncos in the game right now.
Already 3 double-figure scoring games in their first 3. Give them 15 so far. Tigers shooting 54% from the field, 57% beyond the arc. The lead, though, just a mere 3. Off the inbound, Girard, such a soft touch.
Outstanding finisher around the rim. Very impressive what he's been able to do inside the 3-point line so far this season.
A little pressure in the backcourt, and Abo can handle it as well as Clark defends. Is that one of the reasons why Clark was in the starting lineup today, because of their size on the perimeter?
I think so. Chauncey Wiggins, they're just trying to figure out that, that 3rd guard. I think the Tigers would like to be able to play a smaller guard there from time to time, but as Coach Brownell has talked about, their depth has been very effective this year, but a lot of it is just trying to figure out which combination works. Jack Clark was hurt in the preseason. Alex Hemingway was hurt in the preseason, so they're still trying to figure themselves out.
First on Chase Hunter. Anderson knocking down the free throw, and that's his first of the season.
So Boise State has taken, this will be the 14th free throw now. And so it's really, when Boise State has not turned the basketball over, they've been very efficient offensively.
And they're 11 of 14. Tigers are 5 of 5. But based on Clemson's strategy coming in, you'd think it'd be Clemson who'd gotten to the line 14 times as often as they've tried to attack the basket. Girard again going strong. Keene defended. Tigers wanted the whistle. 3-point game. Broncos a chance to get back within 1, maybe tie. Anderson behind a screen from Stanley. You see the differential as we wind down here in the opening half.
Looks like Coach Brownell is going to let him go right here.
Looks like the Tigers will lead for a 2nd time over the course of their first 4 games in this 3-0 start. Coming up on 5, Girard, Clark couldn't handle it. 4 seconds to go, and it'll head the other way.
Coach Brownell's disappointed in that possession. Ran a fade screen action for Joe Girard to get him downhill. Girard continues to attack off the bounce, got to the rim, but tried to kick it to Jack Clark. Carter couldn't quite redirect to the corner.
8th turnover of the Tigers. Remember, Leon Rice used a timeout earlier to break momentum after they fell behind by 9, so he doesn't have to use it or lose it. In it comes Keene, back to Martin. Would have counted had it gone for Stanley, but that's how we arrive at halftime. Entertaining first 20 minutes of hoops. Seeing really good activity on each end of the court offensively.
And good shooting as well. The Tigers have shot it well. The Broncos have shot it well. High-scoring game so far.
First ever meeting between the Boise State Broncos out of the Mountain West and the Clemson Tigers. 3-point lead for the home team at the half. We are watching what you would call a high-level game on a Sunday afternoon here in Littlejohn Coliseum. Tigers by 3 at the break. Other side of the timeout, we'll let you know all you can find at Clemson Plus. It's just ahead. Halftime winding down in Littlejohn Coliseum. The Clemson Tigers a 3-point lead on the Boise State Broncos out of the Mountain West. Welcome back in with J.D. Powell, Pete Yannity. Tigers in the opening half. Better than 50% from the floor and better than 50% beyond the arc.
Yeah, the Tigers 9 of 11 have scored. 1 in double figures, so very balanced for the Tigers right now. They wanted to get to the rim and score. They've been able to do that.
We should have also introduced the Tiger Cub, who's been hanging out with us today as well. And you talk about the scoring. Each team has a player in double figures. For Clemson, Chase Hunter, 10 points so far.
Chase Hunter has really pushed the pace for the Tigers. He's been able to get to the rim, attacking, playing fast. The Tigers want to push the ball ahead when they can.
Hunter, one of the highlights of his career at Clemson with that throwdown in the opening half, and also getting it done from outside.
He has, and he's wanted to shoot the ball well. He's 1 of 1 from 3 so far, but continuing to get downhill to the rim.
Just like Hunter, Chibuzo Abo of Boise State is 4 of 6 in the field. He leads all scorers with 15.
15 points, 3 of 3 from the three-point line right now. Came into the game 1 of 5 from 3. Has really picked up the scoring right now for the Broncos with Tyson Degenhardt on the bench with the 3 fouls. And then the other point, too, the Broncos have gotten to the free throw line 14 times, made 11 of those.
Tigers trying to get to a 4-0 start. Abo, by the way, part of his work in the opening half was scoring both inside of the arc and out of it. As a result, Boise State, as you see, were 5 of 10 from long range. Tigers not that far behind in that category. But each team, I don't think there would be any complaint about what they've done offensively.
Other than the turnovers, both coaches would like to take better care of the basketball because you see the field goal percentages for both teams have been very good offensively. When they've gotten shots, you see the points in the paint, they've been very effective.
Each team well above its turnover pace for the early part of the season. And notice that +8 for the Tigers. That was all part of the game plan. Attack the rim against a team that's got some size with fellas like the 6'9" Cam Martin. But Clemson can come at you with some imposing bodies. Abo, by the way, in that opening half, he had a 4-point play. Of note, it's the first time that that's happened against Clemson since last February when the fellow wearing number 11 in a Clemson uniform did it for Syracuse against the Tigers, Joe Girard. Just a small stat, and if you follow Clemson, you probably can get an idea as to where that little nugget was dropped in from to our booth. Hall, foul trouble. Put him on the bench for the stretch run in the first half. He can't get his first attempt here out of the break.
And Coach Leon Rice is going to start Omar Stanley here in the second half. Bring Tyson Degenhardt off the bench.
Martin feeding, drive to the basket. Stanley, the St. John transfer, has a chance to tie us up.
Omar Stanley's been very good for Coach Rice so far off the bench. Today, as we said, he had a great summer coming over from St. John's. There you see the cut, catches it right there on the rim. Cam Martin is an outstanding passer for the Broncos. Both of these teams are very similar offensively. Their bigs can shoot, but they're both very good passers.
They weren't a very deep team last year despite their 24 wins and at-large bid to the NCAA tourney. That's something that really has Leon Rice, their head coach, excited. The depth on this ball club, and you're seeing it from a lot of guys, and Stanley, one of those. Keys to the game, let's revisit those, JD.
The big one for the Boise State Broncos was to take care of the basketball. 9 turnovers in the first half. They have not been able to do that. And then for the Tigers, it was their shooting against the Boise State 3-point field goal defense. So far, the Tigers have shot the ball well.
How about the offensive rebound by Shefflin? 4 boards in the game. He'll try to add to his point total. Clark flying in, and they're going to get the foul against Abo. And that'll be number 1 on the senior out of San Diego.
So the first 2 trips offensively for the Tigers, they've gone down low. First to P.J. Hall, now to Ian Shefflin. Haven't been able to finish, but Jack Clark there with some activity on the offensive glass.
And foul was on the floor. Initially, it looked like they were setting up for free throws. A team foul on each side early in the second half. P.J. Hall, just 2 points so far, of course, came in averaging over 21 a game. Clark losing Abo. Knocks down the long 2.
Again, another player that the Tigers want to get more involved offensively. 9 points per game last year at NC State. Outstanding shot fake into that pull-up by Jack Clark.
Anderson tries to step through off balance. Boy, that would have been a fabulous finish. Of course, he wanted the whistle, didn't get it. Clark, Hunter in transition. Hall down low. Stanley defending, and from the wing, the whistle.
And P.J. Hall's fortunate right now. That very easily could have been a block on the other end. Coach Rice and the Broncos staff thought so. And then P.J.'s gotten a couple finishes at the rim where he felt like he got hit that didn't go in. Felt like he could have gotten fouled. The Tigers senior take a deep breath right now, settle back in.
80% this year. Knocks down his first free throw attempt of the afternoon. Hall, the 20-point games to start out the season against Winthrop and UAB. Then he had 17 against Davidson. The fact that he started with back-to-back 20-point games was somewhat rare. Hadn't happened in the program in over 20 years.
Yeah, it was a team that I was on. Will Solomon, 1999, 2000, first 2 games of the season, came out 20-point games. Has not happened very often in Clemson basketball.
Back in 54-55, star of the Clemson team back then established a record with 16 straight of 20 or more to begin that campaign. Abo from the corner. Clark closed late. Probably impacted the shot. Hunter. Tigers trying to build in a 4-point lead after we were tied at 41. Gerard. Rice, who picked up a couple of fouls in the first half, defending. Clark can't finish. Shefflin scrapping. Tigers keep the ball. Hall. And they'll go back to the line.
The Tigers have continued to get the basketball to the rim. They have not been able to finish here early in the second half, but have been able to get to the offensive glass. P.J. Hall drives it right here, tries to get to the other side. They get the whistle on the foul, but go back to Jack Clark for just a second. The NC State transfer has done an outstanding job here early in the second half, creating second opportunities for the Tigers on the offensive glass.
Martin's second foul. Tigers have 21 rebounds, 9 on the offensive glass, and Hall extends the lead to 5.
And that was something that Boise State has done an outstanding job of so far this season. One of those games was a non-Division I game, but Coach Rice and his staff take great pride in their defensive rebounding. The Tigers actually have not rebounded it well this year. As good as they were last year, +3, they're minus almost 3 this year. That's something that the coaching staff feels like they've got to get better at.
And granted, against only one D1 opponent in their first 2 games, Boise State coming in nearly +20, and that'll obviously come down, but they're a team that looks to be plus in rebounding on both nights. It's very out to a 6-point lead.
It's very interesting when you read the notes. Boise State's size is actually just slightly bigger than Clemson's, which tells you something about the Mountain West.
Martin hit a 3 in the first half. Misses everything that time. Clark. Abo got a screen. Hall can't knock down the 3-point try. PJ 40% beyond the arc so far. Rice, second team all Mountain West performer, able to drain the tray.
And Max Rice can heat up very quickly. He made 2 threes in 19 seconds against San Francisco to push the Bronco lead out. Coach Rice wants to get him going, come out of the halftime.
His first field goal, now Abo the steal. Rice in transition. Thought about it too long. A little bit of a hesitation. Now the Tigers push the pace. Godfrey down low, and Abo called for a personal. That'll be his second.
Great pace right there by Chase Hunter. He had the transition push off the Max Rice missed 3. Decided to pull it back, allow R.J. Godfrey to settle down at the rim right there. Very good possession by the senior Tiger point guard.
Boise at 43% beyond the arc. Tigers 50%. 4 of 8 for Clemson. 6 of 14 for Boise, which was shooting just 24% on 3-pointers over the first couple of games. Boslita back on the floor. Clark. And it'll be a kick ball by King.
Tyson Degenhart makes his first appearance of the second half right here, just a few minutes into the second half.
3 personals when he went to the bench with about 6.5 to play in the opening half. I thought he'd only picked up his second, and I have a feeling they modified that in the box score afterward. Gerard, his kind of shot from the wing.
Outstanding shot by Joe Girard. He had a possession against Davidson where he took back-to-back threes in the same possession. It was one of those moments where you could see him step up.
Knocks down his first tray in 3 attempts. Clemson back up by 6. Girard defending Rice. Anderson will set things up. Shot clock coming up on 5. Anderson doesn't have the size on Godfrey. Baseline, and Keene couldn't save it for his team.
Great defensive possession there by R.J. Godfrey to switch that ball screen.
Looking to pass, and said Girard can't get the shot to go, and a foul inside. Looks like Omar Stanley just picked up his 3rd, and that's the case.
Joe Girard, the Clemson Tiger sharpshooters, getting it going from late for the Tigers.
Saw Joe Girard knock down the three-pointer. That's one of the things he brings to this Clemson team after transferring in from Syracuse. Really a feared weapon in the ACC for the past several seasons.
He is, and he made his 300th career three this past Sunday against Davidson. I think you've really saw him start to settle into his role here for the Tigers. He's starting to feel very comfortable.
You know, we're talking during the timeout, a lot of really great developmental opportunities, even for a guy with his resume since he arrived in Brad Brownell's program.
One of the big reasons why he chose Clemson was because of P.J. Hall and Chase Hunter. He knew he was going to get open looks because of the space they would require.
Turnover inside. Godfrey was trying to go strong to the hole. Tigers led by as many as 9 in the opening half. Degenhardt has not been a factor for Boise State, and that's going to change. Going to have to change if they want to have a chance, but they give it up again.
Great off-ball defense by Leida there to rotate over on that back cut.
Still on Hunter. Now Godfrey down low. Girard trying to lose the defender, Rice. Finishing as Rice hit the deck.
Great pass by R.J. Godfrey. You're starting to see Godfrey become very confident offensively. You saw him drive it, pivot, then take his time, find Girard. He's playing with good pace right now.
Back out to an 8-point lead. Martin, Leida defends. Soft touch gets the roll.
Outstanding possession for the Broncos. The Tigers have pushed it to 8 or 9 a couple of times. Much needed basket from Cam Martin there.
Broncos second player in double figures. Martin now has 10. He's 4 of 6 from the field. Clark, difficult shot with a hand in his face from Degenhardt. Boise State on the run. Clark repays the debt. Wonderful job by the NC State transfer. His second steal as a Tiger. Here's Girard.
Outstanding drive by Joe Girard there. This game has quickly became very physical. Every drive to the basket, there's a lot of contact.
Just like that, Clemson back in front. 8-point margin. Backdoor play. Knocked out of bounds by Joe Girard. Tigers trying to knock off another Mountain West team.
Joe Girard's ability off the dribble has been outstanding so far for the Tigers this year, showing that he's much more than just a catch-and-shoot guy. The 3.5 assists per game, the ability to score in the paint, and then the denial right there in that back cut was outstanding. That's not easy.
And it'll stay in this end. Clemson once beat Air Force out of the Mountain West in an NIT semifinal game.
And Clemson has a couple of Mountain West connections on their bench. Special assistant Jeff Reynolds was a longtime head coach for the Air Force Falcons. So he knows Leon Rice in the program very well for the Broncos.
Jace Whiting, he's point guard for them, the sophomore. Now Martin backing in on Hall. Can't get the hook to go. Degenhardt offensive glass. Whiting out front. That would have been big for the Broncos' psyche, if nothing else. Tigers a chance for a 10-point lead. Hunter delivers.
Chase Hunter continues to push the ball in transition for the Tigers. Is able to get out on the open floor right there, do what Chase Hunter does best. Push the basketball, finishing at the rim for the Tigers.
You would suppose the fellow in the center of the picture who's now standing up really likes that defensive stat.
Absolutely. The Tigers were very good defensively last year, leading the ACC in opponent field goal percentage. Coming out of Asheville this past weekend, they felt like that was something that they could do better, and they've done that today. Boise State is an outstanding offensive team. They wanted to clean up the fouling at halftime. 14 free throws for the Broncos. Brad Brownell places a huge emphasis in practice of playing without fouling. But Boise State is very hard to guard. You're seeing them moving a ton right now. A lot of back cuts, a lot of cutting to the rim. Really testing the Tigers.
Rebounding, a big story. And the fact that Clemson is 5 of 9 beyond the arc against a team that was holding opponents to 24% in the early going. Also a big part of this game. Biggest lead for the Tigers so far out of the timeout call by Leon Rice, the Boise State head coach. And we'll get a foul down low. What do you know out of a timeout? P.J. Hall.
So that'll be his third.
Number 3 on Hall.
He'll go to the bench. Ian Shefflin will come in. So now both of the first team all-league guys for Boise State and Clemson with 3 fouls.
Degenhart stays on the floor at the bottom of your screen, having picked up 3 in the opening half. Martin has been a go-to guy for them today. Already 10 points. He'll spin around Ian Shefflin's defense, and he matches his best effort so far. He had 12 in their opening game against Vanguard.
And Cam Martin has shown you he can turn to either shoulder. The Tigers have played his left shoulder. That's the second time he's turned to the right.
Keene defending Gerard. Gerard 13 points to lead Clemson, looking to add on. Couldn't get it to fall, but Godfrey could.
R.J. Godfrey continues to be active on the offensive glass for the Tigers.
Godfrey's that kind of player because he can get so high up. You got to stop based on the clock issue. But he can get so high up with the leaping ability. He's really the perfect player to try to follow up on the offensive glass because he leaps so straight, so vertically, if you know what I mean.
Well, he comes from a great athletic family. His dad was in the NFL for over 10 years, a linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. But I think the best thing Godfrey does, he's obviously a tremendous athlete, but he knows who he is. You know, he's relentless to the offensive glass. He's going to go try to get every single one of them. And he's done an outstanding job for the Tigers early in the season. He's their 3rd leading scorer right now this year.
Ooh, almost a travel by Stanley, and now away from the ball, a foul. Shefflin. And he picks up his 2nd personal foul.
So as we mentioned, this game has become very physical, very much like an ACC game. Foul count was 5-1 coming out of that last media timeout. 2 quick ones on the Tigers.
Abo getting a lot of attention after the big first half. Stanley on the low block. Couldn't get it to fall. Strong rebound down low by Dylan Hunter. Hemingway. Godfrey out high. Abo defends. The Hunter brothers on the floor at the same time. Chase exploring. Penetrates on Whiting. Knocked it away. Godfrey fouled on the floor. R.J. Godfrey getting it done in a lot of ways for Clemson.
The highly athletic, energetic, active forward for the Tigers continues to play at the rim.
College basketball odyssey of Boise State's Cam Martin.
Outstanding job. As we talk about the era of student athletes and NIL and transfer portal, he's made the most of his 7-year career. Started at Jacksonville State University and then transferred to Missouri Southern State. 3-time All-American, 3-time academic All-American, wins a national championship at Kansas, and now gets to complete his career at a really good Boise State. That's an outstanding story, and he's going to have an outstanding season.
Outstanding set play out of the timeout. Hemingway adding to the Tigers' 3-point barrage. First one made for him in 2 attempts. Lead grows to 13, biggest so far.
That's a big plus for the Tigers. Alex has been hurt early in the preseason. He's starting to get into a rhythm now.
Degenhart has been contained once again. Godfrey and Shefflin doing good work near the basket. In that part of the game where Boise State in this second half has yet to get any kind of offensive flow going, and time's starting to run out on them. Tigers led 41-38 at the break, and you can see the differential in points since halftime. Shefflin forcing late in the shot clock. Stanley the rebound.
And you're seeing a possession where Coach Brownell wanted the Tigers to move the basketball side to side. He felt like in the first 3 games they had gotten a little eager from time to time. Tigers worked it late into the shot clock there.
Tigers doing a good job denying good looks out on the wing in this second half. Abo tries to defy that, missing badly. Stanley battles. Godfrey coming away with it. More scrappy play by Ian Shefflin to go with it.
The Tigers have been outstanding defensively in the first 10 minutes of this second half. That was a great baseline rotation by R.J. Godfrey.
Hunter. Pretty move to set it up. Godfrey right there for the bounce. Trying to get it to his teammate, Dylan Hunter, and he does. Shefflin, and the foul be called. Abo picking up another personal.
You can't say enough about R.J. Godfrey's activity on the basketball court and what that does for the Tigers. He has become an outstanding defender without the basketball. He rotated over, blocked the shot, and now he comes up with the loose ball on the floor right there. The way that the Tiger post players complement each other is outstanding. R.J. Godfrey is not a guy that's hunting shots or trying to shoot threes, just really active on the offensive glass and outstanding in off-ball defense.
3 now on Abo, who leads all scorers with 15, but has been quiet in the second half. Tigers now in the bonus. 7 fouls against Boise State. Shefflin just does a lot of things really well so far in the game from the free throw line. Had not gone to the line until then, so early on in his junior year, he's 7 of 7 on free throws. 15-point advantage.
Very important possession right here for Boise State. They want to try to get a basket, get a couple of stops together, try to get this back under 10.
Rice, shot clock at 10. Stanley looks low for Degenhardt. Heads to the basket. Changed hands in the air, kind of threw it down toward the hoop.
Outstanding finish there by Omar Stanley. The Tigers are going to stay at home on the perimeter with other guys, Abo in particular. Omar Stanley one-on-one in the post.
That ended a better than 3-minute scoring drought for the Broncos. Off the dribble, Girard. Pretty stuff.
I would say that Joe Girard feels pretty comfortable in this other shade of orange now. Very
Gave
confident.
the Michael Jordan hands up look to the folks sitting on the baseline. Stanley. Rice as Girard hit the floor. Won't go down though. A tough go of it from the field in the second half for the Broncos.
And you see another possession here. Coach Brownell slowing the Tigers down just a little bit. He wants to get a good possession here. Wants to see him execute.
Girard for 2. Give him 18.
Yeah, Joe Girard is playing really well. Came off that baseline pin down. He settled in very nicely for Coach Brownell and the Tigers.
17 points, 5 assists against Davidson last Sunday. 18-point deficit for Degenhardt in Boise State. And they're all Mountain West player will head to the free throw line.
And the Tigers are doing this right now with Chase Hunter on the bench, P.J. Hall on the bench. So you're seeing Joe Girard be what Coach Brownell and the Tigers thought that he could be when he made the decision to transfer to Clemson.
Just an instant scoring kind of guy, and once again a threat from three-point range, and also free throw line jumper right there. You can hit him free throw line extended. I mean, he's really got a lot of interesting aspects to his game. Degenhardt likewise, although he hasn't shown it today, but fellow that his coach will tell you pretty much is perfect in everything he does. He's a 4.0 student as well as being really good on the court.
He has a great podcast too, Pete. I had a chance this week to check out his podcast. He interviewed the Boise State quarterback. He has his teammates on there. Coach Rice has gotten on there a few times. He is a very popular guy in Boise, Idaho.
They're going to get him to the bench with those 3 personal fouls. Give him 5 in the game. Just 1 of 5, though, from the field. Tigers extending a 3-point advantage at the break. Now to as many as 18 here in the second half. Girard, the guy you want to have the ball. Hall back in the game, says he.
And another Joe Girard assist. Came off that pin down. Knew exactly where P.J. Hall was going to be. Dumped it down. Got another assist.
Tigers haven't needed all that much out of P.J. Hall. Give him 8 in the contest. Nice turnout on a Sunday afternoon. Getting back into it after that. Anderson dodged by Dylan Hunter. Martin driving on Hall, trying to get him a 4th personal called. Godfrey helping out. Rice off 1 foot.
Max Rice is a very good scorer. Can put the ball on the deck, drive it to the rim, gets inside the free throw line right there and puts it off the glass.
7 for Rice. He averages 11. Tigers, though, maintain a 16-point lead. Coming up on 7 to play. Hall inside over Martin, and one.
I think one of the biggest takeaways so far from this game has been the Tigers' ability to execute offensively in the second half. Coach Brownell wanted them to slow down just a little bit, be able to get the shot that he wanted. They're able to get it right there inside. P.J. Hall puts it off the glass.
Joe Girard, 18 points on 8 of 15 shooting.
Joe Girard has shown that he can do it any way that Coach Brownell wants to draw it up. He's done a great job in driving kicks, spaces, gets threes, but his ability to attack off the dribble has probably been the biggest surprise. He's very effective. He's very efficient offensively. Been outstanding early in the season for the Tigers. Got off to a little bit of a slow start, but it has really come alive in the last 2 games.
Hall unable to hit the free throw. 18-point advantage with J.D. Powell. Pete Hannity with you here in Littlejohn. First of the men's-women's doubleheader. Tiger women play after this contest against Longwood. Tough day for Degenhardt, but that was part of the Tiger game plan. It's worked out so far. Girard, again, 15 attempts, 11 inside of the arc. So you think of this guy as one who's going to live out there and just try to hit threes, but he's got a lot of game.
He does. He's very crafty with the basketball. He's an outstanding passer.
And there's some game, too.
And he's
different size,
well.
Same effectiveness.
Yeah, P.J. Hall is very effective. He's really come into his very comfortable with that little turnaround jumper where he can elevate over defenders.
Stanley in the corner for Anderson. Can't get the bounce. Shefflin another rebound.
And this is the type of November basketball game that's going to help both of these teams. Boise State is going to go on to play Virginia Tech in Orlando. Clemson will play Alabama after Alcorn State. But this is a very physical basketball game right now. Both teams will get better because of it.
Hall 0 for 2 beyond the arc. And a foul on the other end is pretty nice for show, but he won't get credit for the block. And, you know, interestingly, Clemson will return the game to Boise next year. They did a home and home, and Leon Rice, during his 14 years guiding Boise State, has never had an ACC team come out there. It's got to be one of the few. A Tiger team has played in Boise before in the NCAA tourney back in the late 80s.
This is only the 5th game that Boise State has ever played against an ACC team. But it's a great home and home series. It's coaches that have gotten to know each other very well. 2 teams that are very similar. It's a great early season matchup for both of them.
Anderson. Clark picked up his 2nd foul, by the way. Just the 5th in the Tigers here, with coming up on 5.5 to go in the second half. Miss on the force by Anderson.
Roddy Anderson is going to be an outstanding point guard for the Broncos. Got it going early in the second half, but going to be very good for Coach Rice throughout the season.
Tigers have broken this game open on 5 of their last 6. Pretty move, Hunter, and just as nice of a finish.
Outstanding job by Chase Hunter being able to attack the rim. That was a big part of the game plan for the Tigers. Their guards have been able to do just that.
The lead grows to 22. Martin drives on Hall. Little contact. And Hall with a glance to the closest official.
And that's one of those calls. PJ's not going to get that call right now after getting upset earlier in the second half. I believe officials remember those types of things. But PJ wants to play without fouling, stay vertical right there, which he did. Stay on his feet. Don't try to block it every single time.
You and everyone else who's ever coached college basketball with that thought, I would suppose.
Chase Hunter has been outstanding on the bounce for the Tigers. He continues to attack the rim, gets there to the basket, able to finish there for the Tigers. The senior guard is having a great season so far.
17 on the shot clock as Hunter gets it into Clark. A lot of weapons for the Tigers. Not that time for Girard. Now 2 of 5 on 3-point attempts. Boise State trying for a late run. Degenhardt past Hall, then Shefflin.
And you see his versatility there, able to drive the basketball, make a change of direction move, and finish there at the rim.
Just his 2nd field goal in the game. He's 2 for 7 from the field. Given him 7 in the contest. Closest thing to a run that Broncos have had here in the second half. Cutting what was a 22-point deficit down to 18. Hall. And skying for the rebound. The 6'3" Whiting. Rice in transition. He'll fire. Backside rebound try Abo. And Shefflin able to knock it away.
Outstanding block out right there by Jack Clark. He did not get the rebound, but he led to the rebound.
Nasty spill for Girard. Foul was on the floor, so they'll have a 1-and-1 opportunity on the line.
The Tigers continue to execute offensively. Joe Girard, great pace. Tiger guards continue to play at the rim.
Joe Girard on the verge of his first 20-point game in a Clemson uniform. A couple of free throws upcoming. Played at Syracuse, as you probably know, from just east of there in Glens Falls, New York. So he's in store for the best winter of his life if you factor in snow, and he hits the front end of the 1-and-1.
Outstanding player from the upstate of New York. Played for a very good Nike EYBL team, the Albany City Rocks, coached by the legendary Jimmy Hicks. Does an outstanding job. They travel
that's
down
Jimmy
here.
Hicks. Yeah.
Comes down to Augusta, Georgia every year for the Peach Jam. Outstanding program up there.
And indeed a 20-point game for Girard. Great free throw shooter. The Tiger team, as many weapons as I can remember them having in quite a while. Martin, strong move, and that'll be a fourth on Hall. Even the Sweet 16 team of 2017 and 18, which had guys who could score both inside and out. And the lost story I've always thought on that is that Dante Grantham got hurt in January and wasn't a factor as part of that run. And how good would they have been if he stayed healthy? But this team has as much resourcefulness maybe as I've seen in quite a while.
And so I think talking to the coaching staff this week, this is a really talented team. And so at times, because they were so talented, players felt like they weren't being selfish. They felt like, hey, I can go score, and they could. And so what ended up happening was they were playing it at a little bit faster, I don't want to say pace, but just they were moving a step too quick. And so Coach Brownell and the staff this week wanted them to slow down a little bit. Let's execute when we need to execute, and you've seen that today.
Is that what led to the big deficit, you think, in the opening half against Davidson?
I do, yes. You know, they shoot the ball very well from three. It's going to be Clemson's best three-point shooting team in Clemson history, but they don't want to just rely on the first one. Let's move it side to side a little bit and find a better one.
And when you got a guy like that, Hall, who can do things like that, didn't fall that time, you've got to keep defenses honest. You're going to keep defenses honest because they've got to make sure they've got someone to help on him. Martin trying to build on a real good scoring game for him. Hunter, another rebound.
And I think an indirect part of that is the way the Tigers wanted to attack the paint with their guards today. When the ball touches the paint and then it comes back out to three, those threes become much more efficient.
Hunter can't get it to fall. Foul down low. Whiting trying to box out Hall. Second on Whiting. And now with 10 on Boise State. 2 free throw shot opportunity upcoming for Hall, who, despite his foul trouble, a fourth consecutive double-figure scoring game with 12. Told you Boise State on a 10-day Eastern swing during this break upcoming for them with Thanksgiving. Heading on down to play 3 games at Disney. They'll see Mike Young of Virginia Tech on Thanksgiving Day. Tigers return to action right here in Littlejohn against Alcorn State out of the SWAC. Coming up Friday night, 8 p.m.
And Coach Rice talked a little bit about, you know, Boise State has done this several years now. They came to the Charleston Classic a few years ago. They'll go to Orlando for the ESPN Invitational. Loves to bring his team back east for those events. And he says the weather's a lot better than it is right now in Boise.
Folks here in the arena can say they saw a game with a team that traveled the farthest, as Keene can't get it to go. Rebound Martin. Traveled the farthest of any regular season opponent. Going to go down from the outside for Abo. But his first points of the second half after 15 in the opening half of play. Boise State roughly 2,300 miles to come play this game. It's the farthest any regular season opponent has come to play Clemson on the men's side. I believe the Oregon women, who came here during the great Sabrina Ionescu's freshman year when she had her first ever triple-double on this court. Pretty sure that's the furthest regular season opponent to travel for any game here in Littlejohn Coliseum.
And this is the future. Obviously, the ACC expanding, Stanford, Cal. You know, talking to Coach Brownell back in August, right after it happened, you know, we talked a little bit of scheduling, what's it going to be like, those types of things, and they really don't know yet. You know,
they confirmed the three-pointer, by the way, for Abo, so give him 18.
And Abo has had an outstanding day. You know, whenever you talk about guys, Boise State has had an outstanding group of guys that have been able to go on to play professionally, both in the NBA and overseas.
Yeah.
This will be a game that Abo will be able to go back and look at against a very good Clemson defensive team.
You know, just because in an 18-point game we have time to discuss it, I would suppose the basketball model of scheduling, and of course with all the flurry of reports and talk that there's been about what the ACC actually looks like moving forward with the 3 new schools coming in, how many of the teams currently in the league may still be here. Hunter looking to add to his day, and the foul will be called on Whiting. You've got to figure now that they schedule early season pre-January conference games, if indeed a Clemson with Cal, Stanford, and SMU also includes those currently in the league, got to think a lot of those games against Cal and Stanford, they'll try to schedule a Clemson to go out there during the December break when they're not in class and play those 2, and then that might be an opportunity to add another game on that trip just to get value out of the trip. Boy, Keene went for the slam. Hunter rejecting. Out of bounds for Boise State. No whistle. Clean block by Chase Hunter.
And you can continue to see Chase Hunter's athleticism today. He had the big block in the first half. Now he's going to rotate over right here and block this dunk at the rim. Chase Hunter has been very, very good today, showing his athleticism and his length at the rim.
He dunked it in that basket in the first half. That time he rejects right in front of its rim. Whiting lobs to the wrong team. They cleaned up an early flurry of turnovers. They now match Clemson with 11. But the story of this game has been the Tigers' half-court defense in the second half. Another for Girard.
Outstanding job by Joe Girard. The Tigers have really executed well in the second half. It's not just the turnovers, it's the possessions they've had. They've made Boise State guard late into the shot clock. P.J. Hall playing from the top of the key. Joe Girard moving without the basketball. That's been the biggest growth that we've seen from the Tigers today, has been their ability to execute in the half court when they needed to.
That timeout called to get guys like Girard and others off the floor. Joe Girard's day will end with 23 points scored on 9 of 17 from the field. 50% beyond the arc, hitting half of his 6 attempts there. 2 of 2 at the line. Added 4 rebounds and 3 assists. Pretty good day against a very good team.
Really good day, really good day. When you look at what P.J. Hall did in the first week and a half, those first 3 games, and now you back that up with what Joe Girard has done in the last 2, the Tigers will get a couple of days to prepare for Alcorn State on Friday, and then now the schedule really gets hard. You know, now it's Alabama, and the teams like that, they'll have to go to Pittsburgh for the first ACC game. The Tigers will enjoy this a little bit, and then it's back to work.
Tigers about to improve to 4-0. Backdoor pass executed beautifully, and the foul is called. So R.J. Keene will have a chance to go to the line, gets his first points of the game. The R.J. who's made the most impact in the contest, one R.J. Godfrey, a career high in blocks for the Tigers, with 4 in the contest, and his defense part of the story here in the second half. For Keene, guy who missed last year because of an injury, player they're going to count on for some valuable minutes and hoping he can add some scoring touch.
The Woodlands native out of Houston, Texas. Boise State and Coach Leon Rice, the staff, has always done a very good job recruiting the state of Texas. They'll play North Texas here in a couple of weeks, but the Broncos do an outstanding job recruiting in Texas, and R.J. Keene's going to be very good.
Wiggins trying to work inside. Kobe Young knocked it away. Here's a lob for Keene, and Shefflin will be called for the foul. So back to the free throw line goes Keene. Ian Shefflin picking up a third personal. Brad Brownell said in pregame he thought that with the 8 fouls or so they could waste on trying to deny Hall and others in the inside Boise State would. They have, but trouble is they've not been able then to get work done on the other end. If you're going to commit fouls on one end and you hope that it leads to just 1 point instead of 2, you've still got to be able to counter that. It's of no use if obviously you're not effective on the offensive end of the floor. 17-point game.
And the big story, it goes back to one of our keys to the game. Boise State had been outstanding in three-point field goal defense. Clemson is able to make 8 today. That's kind of what created the separation and gave the Tigers space to operate today.
Wiggins gets his, adding to his scoring day. 9 in the contest for the Tigers sophomore from just outside of Atlanta.
Great response today by Chauncey Wiggins. Comes off the bench for the first time this season. Adds 9 points for the Tigers.
Whiting on the crossover. Nice move. Jace Whiting, one of the few natives of Idaho they have on their squad. 2 of them are their coach's son. He grew up in Boise, and he's from Burley, Idaho. Final 10 seconds. Tigers 4-0 as they get ready for a visit from the Braves of Alcorn State on Friday at 8 p.m. Women's team gets ready to take on Longwood near the bottom of the hour. Leon Rice, Brad Brownell shaking hands at midcourt. They've become buddies during their Nike tours, and they went head-to-head for the first time today.
Great November matchup. Both of these teams will get better from this game. They'll move on to the next part of their season. But the Tigers played very well, executed outstanding.
Tigers win 85-68. For J.D. Powell and our great crew, Pete Kennedy saying so long for now from Littlejohn. This has been a presentation of ESPN.